Welcome in to Outkick the Show, presented by Oddshark. Go to Oddshark for all of your gambling and informational related needs. I hope all of you are having a fantastic Thursday. We've got a lot to get to. Let's all dive in and get rolling. May be no show tomorrow. I'm headed to Vegas for the Oddshark weekend. So I'll be in Vegas Friday, Saturday, Sunday. May have time to do a show live out there. We'll see whether or not I am able to. I'll travel with my crew here, and by crew here, I mean my Facebook audience and my Periscope audiences. Yes, I will be doing radio tomorrow, Friday. It's going to be a lot of fun. You guys will love it. All right, we got to get rolling here. I want to start off with telling you guys that you absolutely, well, a couple things. A couple of bit of information. One, go download the show from this morning. Because we made up everybody. We made fun of, if you didn't see, the 50 greatest black athletes that Undefeated put out. It was phenomenal in terms of how awkward it was, how defining of the ESPN it is. The T-shirts are in the works. They will be here soon. I think on Monday, I'm going to be announcing Outkick Premium. If you didn't pay attention to that list, what's amazing about it, what's amazing about that list is they left out Tiger Woods intentionally, and then they had Mike Wilbon write an article complaining about the fact that they left out Tiger Woods. It's one of the most ridiculous things I've ever seen before. You made up a fake list. And then you left out Tiger Woods so you could write an article about the fact that Tiger Woods was not included. So, I need to go grab my list here. We made up a list of the top 13 Asian athletes. And we're totally satirizing everything that ESPN did. And we're going to do this again tomorrow. We're going to have the best white athletes on. We'll make an incredible list of everybody out there with the best white athletes. And here we go. Bruce Lee, number 1 overall. Number 2 overall, Tiger Woods. This is my list. It's an infallible list. It's flawless. It's perfect. It makes absolutely total sense. Number 1 overall, Bruce Lee. Number 2, Tiger Woods. Again, because I sit on the iron throne of inclusion and I am the king of tolerance, this is my list. Only Asian people who were born in America. All right? Only Asian men who were born in America, Asian men and women. And the only other aspect of this is that everything is set up. Had to be born in America, have to be at least 50% Asian. All right, here we go. Number 1 overall, Bruce Lee. He was born in San Francisco. A little bit of a birther controversy this morning, but he's number 1 overall. Again, this is Outkick's tolerant and inclusive list of the best Asian American athletes, because all ESPN cares about is the 50 greatest black athletes. They didn't have anybody else. All right? Number 1 overall, Bruce Lee. Number 2, Tiger Woods. Number 3 on my list, this is a little bit controversial, Mr. Miyagi, a.k.a. Pat Morita. All right, Mr. Miyagi, a.k.a. Pat Morita. Number 4 overall is, number 4 overall, I had Michael Chang. 5, Michelle Kwan. 6, Apollo Ono. 7, Jeremy Lin. Number 8 overall, Kristi Yamaguchi. Number 9, Michelle Wee. Number 10, don't forget about him, Texas A&M special, Dat Nguyen. Go ahead and run and tell everybody. At 11 overall, we've got, who do we have? We've got Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. At number 12, we have got Hines Ward. And at number 13, Mr. Fuji. That is all the list. Again, I will run through it, and you guys will absolutely love it. This, Jackie Chan, I don't think was born in America. Again, a lot of you out there giving ideas about people, and they don't fit the criteria. Ichiro was not born in America. I'm not sure about Kobayashi. Kobayashi's a good question. Hines Ward, only half Asian. Knocked him down because his dad's black, his mom is Korean, only half Asian. American born, have to be American born, and have to be a man or woman who was an athlete. No one from the LPGA. I don't know that we have any great LPGA athletes. Stop with the Ichiro talk. Ichiro is not born in America. All right. Love all of the feedback. That'll be fantastic. Tomorrow we will have our list of the best white athletes, 6 to 9 a.m., 250 a.m. and FM stations, coast to coast, plus Sirius XM channel 83. You can listen from 6 to 9 a.m. Eastern. All right, am I going to have to going to have to pull out his. I got to say this about Barstool people. Barstool people, a lot of them are really dumb. A lot of them on the Barstool audience is really not very intelligent. And it's really kind of sad, I think, to see what Barstool has become, because they used to be irreverent, they used to be funny. Now they're out there saying like, oh, the Google guy who got fired, he deserved to get fired. They are, to be frank, I mean, it's kind of sad. Like, you got a bunch of guys just running around like, oh, Barstool's awesome, Barstool's awesome. And you're just their cunts. Like, you're just their little bitches. And it's really kind of sad. Like, you aren't thinking, you don't use your brain to the extent that you have one. And they basically just are pivoting right in your face. They're turning into ESPN. They put out an entire article saying that the Google engineer who got fired deserved to get fired. The Barstool that tried to hire me several years ago when I made a lot less money, and when I told Dave no, that Barstool would have ridiculed, destroyed a blog post about how this Google engineer who said guys and girls are different are deserving of being fired. One of the things you have to learn as you grow, and this has been something that I decided, are you going to try to become something that you're not? I got offered, you guys know this, a show, my own show on FS1, twice now. I got offered the morning show and I got offered the evening show, 2 different times. And twice I have turned down those shows. So now they got Nick Wright and Chris Carter on. That's a show that I turned down. And now who knows who they're going to have on in the evening. And the reason why I turned those down was straightforward. I was told you can make a lot of money. Jamie Horowitz set me down and he said, look, I will pay you millions and millions of dollars. And you can have your own show on FS1. Here's what I need you to do. I need you to never talk about politics again. I need you to stop talking about Game of Thrones. And I need you to embrace basically liberal talking points. He said, you're too conservative to get your own show. I said, what are you talking about conservative? I worked on Al Gore's presidential campaign. I was working to try to get a black guy elected to the Senate in Tennessee. I've never voted for a Republican. He said, you know what? He said, you are too conservative to be on television. He said, what I need you to do is shut up and do what Skip Bayless does. Don't interact. Just have your own opinions. And by the way, this is not my story. Other people at Fox told it. I kept quiet about it. I didn't come on here and talk about it. I didn't write about it. He said, we sat down at the Super Bowl, and he said, you can have your own show. And I'll pay, you can make millions of dollars. He said, Skip Bayless was making $150,000 when I started working with him at First Take. And now he makes $6 million a year, and we signed him to a $25 million contract. He said, you can make the Skip Bayless money. You're every bit as good as he is on television. But what I need you to do is I need you to stop talking about anything but sports. All I want is sports takes from you. And I said, man, I'll let me think about it. And so I had the opportunity to sell out. I had the opportunity to make as much money as I possibly could have wanted to make, millions of dollars. Could have moved to LA, had my own television show, and I had a decision to make. Do I want to be honest and forthright with my audience and continue to do exactly what I do? And I actually asked Jamie Horowitz this. So what do you want me to say to my audience that is out there that is big fans of what we do at Outkick, and they're going to say, like, what are they going to say when suddenly I stop talking about Game of Thrones and don't ever mention Donald Trump and stop talking about politics? He said, I'll tell you what to tell them. Thank you for getting me here, but I don't need you anymore. And that's the truth. That's what he said. So I had a choice. I could have sold out or I could have not have. And I said, okay, I'm not going to sell out. I'm not going to sell out. I'm not going to stick to sports. I'm going to continue to do exactly what I do now. And so I had a decision to make. Do I sell out and try to make more money, or do I go all in on sports? And it seems to me that what Barstool has decided to do is sell out. I think they've totally sold out. If you look at the content that they produce now, Dave even said on the show today, he said, well, I don't know why that went out. Said, you tweeted it from the Barstool account. He said, well, we have a lot of people writing now. We put out a lot of content. Well, if you're doing that, then you sold out. You don't have control of your brand anymore when you are throwing out tons of content all day long, every day. All right? I mean, that's just the truth. And so I'm going to have to go Clay Kyle here and start to read some of these. And that's the truth. So you have a decision. You have a decision about whether or not you want to be in control of your own existence. And if you do, then you can make millions of dollars like me independently. If you don't, then you can try to sell out to large media companies. And that's fine if you want to sell out to large media companies. But don't claim that you're authentic. Don't claim that you are the one who is being honest. Dave got rattled. He knows that I'm telling the truth. Deep down, he knows that he is sold out. And as a result, he is triggered when I point out that he's sold out. The Dave that I met that tried to hire me years ago, he would never have allowed the stuff that's going up under Barstool's name to go up now. So that's the truth. And I think he's triggered. I think he's upset. I think deep down, he knows that I'm correct. He keeps talking about how he's building a company. He's not building a company. All he's doing is he's got like 3 guys that are valuable. 3 guys in a company is not valuable. Do you remember College Humor? Do you remember the site College Humor? Like College Humor was wildly popular. Some of you may remember it if you're old enough. College Humor was wildly popular, like, I don't know, probably like 10 years ago, 12 years ago. And 10 or 12 years ago, everybody was like, oh, this College Humor thing is going to be great. And then you know what happened? They suck. They sold out and they suck. Because you know what's rare is talent. Talent is rare. They have really talented guy, Big Cat's funny, and Pro Football Commenter is smart. The other thing is most people at Barstool are not very smart. They can hopefully continue to be humorous because the only guy that has the ability to write in an intelligent fashion there is a satirical writer, and he is Pro Football Commenter. Nobody else there is smart in terms of producing content that makes you say, wow, this is something I wouldn't have thought of before. Ultimately, smart lasts. If you can create smart content, it lasts. You could be smart for 50 years. Like I could do what I do now until I'm 60 and not age out of it. Dave's 40. How old is Dave going to be like doing Adderall and chasing 18-year-olds? At 50, is that cool? At 40, is it even cool? That's the truth. So think about it. Like all they have to do, I told Big Cat this. I said, just walk out. Like why are you carrying that company on your back? Why are you in PFT carrying that company on the back? Hopefully one day they sell out and you get a big payday. But if they don't, you're trying to find somebody else to grab the bag and they're overhiring. And when you overhire, you end up employing lots of people who aren't very good because talent's rare. And there's only like 4 or 5 people at that company that have talent. And so that's the truth. Would I hire PFT and Big Cat? Yeah. That may be the only people at Barstool that I would hire. And those guys don't even write anymore. They do a podcast. So, truth of the matter is, I've gone from zero to a multimillionaire. A little bit of news here. We're buying the building downtown in Nashville. If you're a Nashville person, we're buying the Paradise Park building today. So, if you know the Paradise Park building, we're buying that building downtown. It's going to be fabulous. We already own a couple of buildings in Hillsborough Village. Like, the money that I make, people are like, what do you do with the money you make? I put it into buildings. We got tons of buildings all over the state and all over the city. So we are buying the Paradise Park building, 4-story building, downtown Nashville. It's not closing, but it's going to be fabulous. Just wait and see. I'm partnering with the Goldberg brothers who have created incredible things all over the city of Nashville, and it's going to be fantastic. So, but there's a group that's putting together the purchase of the building in downtown Nashville. It's going to be really cool. Nothing's going to change in the meantime right now, but it's a 4-story building. If you go to Preds games, if you like to go out in Nashville, Outkick's going to have a role in the future in what that building looks like, and it's going to be pretty fantastic. So it is going to be outstanding. I can't wait to see what's going to happen there. But be smart, invest, continue to do what I do. That's what I'm going to do. And as gambling becomes legal, we're going to get into sportsbook gambling and everything else. There are going to be incredible things coming. So that's the truth. I hope that you guys are able to come hang out there soon. We own the Demumbrian Street bars. We sold those, own that building. And now I'm getting in on Broadway. We've got the bars in Hillsborough Village coming. Lots of good things. It's going to be fantastic. Outkick Premium is launching on Monday. That is going to be phenomenal as well. Lots of good things coming from Outkick. But the key is I control everything that goes on at Outkick. You're never going to see something associated with the Outkick brand that I don't control. Dave's out here trying to defend the fact that he's got a guy saying, oh, that guy who wrote the Google post is incredibly sexist. And like 2 years ago, he would have crushed any site that wrote a piece like that. That's the truth. If small time, because you're small time, wrong you're. If it's small time to be worth millions and millions of dollars from nothing, then you're right, I'm small time. If it's small time to have the best job in America, then you're right, I'm small time. If it's small time to be on from 6 to 9 a.m. Eastern on 250 a.m. and FM stations nationwide and satellite radio, then you're right, I'm small time. If it's small time to be dominating in sports, politics, pop culture, you're right, I'm small time. That's the truth. So you can either get on the Clay Travis Express or you can stand in front of the train and get run over. It's a good position to be if you're on the Express. It's a bad position to be if you're standing in front of the train because you know what? Trains will stop not till after they hit you. That's the truth. This is like, dude, no one knows you. First of all, I'm going to block you. Do you know how ironic it is to come into somebody's Periscope, to seek them out online and find somebody and say, no one knows you? Like, that's crazy. Like, do you realize? Like, this is, I mean, just think about how ridiculous that is. Like, most of my critics are like, dude, no one knows you. You had to look me up to know who I am. You had to spend your free time to come into my Periscope to say that you don't like me. Do you know how amazing that is? Like, choo-choo, motherfucker. You're just making me money. And the crazy thing is, people who don't like me don't even realize how much money they make me. Because you're like, oh, I hate Clay Travis. You got to go look at what he said. You got to go look at what he read. And if you send that to 10 people, let's presume you have 10 friends. If you have 10 friends, 6 of them might agree with you. 4 of them might say, you know what? I'm going to read this guy, Clay Travis, and maybe 2 of them like me. Every time somebody says that they hate me, I get richer. Like, you guys don't understand. This is not a love-hate business. It's an interest or disinterest building. And every time somebody has interest in me, one way or the other, I make more money. That's the truth. Like, I'm trying to tell you how the game is played. It's too complicated for most people in this industry. People focus on, oh, people love you, oh, people hate you. I don't care. It's 2 sides of the same coin. If you love or hate me, you are interested, right? And interest is what gets me paid. That's the truth. Period. And so smart people get it. And that's why Outkick's audience, by and large, is a lot smarter than the Barstool audience. Barstool's audience is a bunch of, I went to school in the Northeast. I know the Barstool audience. It's a bunch of idiot, loser, left-wing cucks. All right? That's the truth. And all publicity, you're right. I've said this for a long time. All publicity is good publicity as long as you're not facing jail time. So far, I'm not facing jail time. So far as I'm not facing jail time, all is good, right? It's a fantastic setup. Did you see this story? Speaking of facing jail time, did you see this story? This is an unbelievable story. Zach Randolph. Do you guys know what Zach Randolph has made this year? Do you know how much, not this year, do you know how much money Zach Randolph has made in his career? Do you know how much money Zach Randolph has made in his career? Any idea? It's a lot of guesses. Like, just guess on here. And by the way, think about how crazy this is. Zach Randolph has made $175 million, and he just signed a contract for an additional $25 million. So he's going to make $200 million playing basketball. He just got arrested for selling pot. Think about that for a minute. $200 million Zach Randolph has made playing basketball. How much money could he possibly make from selling weed? He made $200 million playing basketball. $200 million. How much money could he possibly make selling weed? He wasn't selling weed. He was buying tons of weed. They said that he had an intent to distribute. That's what he's arrested for. How much does the greatest weed seller in America make right now? Not $200 million. 10 grand? I mean, it's unbelievable to me. Of all the businesses you could get into if you made $200 million, how do you get into the business of selling weed? It's one of the craziest things I've ever heard of. $200 million before taxes. After taxes, he's granted made less money than that. But before taxes, he's made $200 million. And it was in Watts. Yes, he was in L.A. in Watts at 4 a.m., I believe, buying and selling weed. Of all the things you could be into if you had $200 million in cash, is your side hustle even going to make you 50 grand? That's an unbelievable move in general. Crazy ass move. I want to tell you guys before I forget, let me make sure I get my ads in. Do you have a timeshare you're looking to get out of? Are you just not using it or can't afford it? Let my friends at Magical Realty help you sell it. Magical Realty doesn't charge any upfront fees to sell your timeshare, only getting paid once it closes. Visit magicalrealty.com or email them at info@magicalrealty.com. They might be able to help you rent out your timeshare. Selling is not the best option. Contact them today. That is what we are off and running. And so that's wild. Wild to even think about if you've made $200 million making that decision. I mean, just an unbelievable $200 million. You invest that just a little bit, you will be off and running. People who think he was selling are morons. Okay, what was he doing? Buying? Why are you buying weed and getting popped at 4 a.m. in Watts? You have $200 million. You can have people go do whatever you want. It's crazy. MS ESPN charts will be up and running soon. ESPN in trouble, stock down again. I tried to tell you guys that ESPN's business model was broken, that was why they had so aggressively gone left wing. That's why they're putting out the 50 greatest black athletes, all that different crap. They are desperate because nobody is watching and because their business model is crumbling. They're losing subscribers, thousands of them a day, diving off of ESPN. Their television ratings, which no one is writing about, are lower than they have ever been in the history of the network. They are in a whole world of trouble. Total disaster coming at ESPN, and people in Wall Street are just catching flight of it. Congratulations to Bob Iger. He's lucky that he went and bought all the Star Wars movies, and he's lucky that he went out there and bought Marvel. Because if the amusement park business wasn't also growing alongside of the movie business, they would be screwed beyond belief. The ESPN money train is coming to a halt, and it is going to be a total disaster. They continue to talk about what a hero Colin Kaepernick is because they somehow have made the decision that turning into MS ESPN is the smart move, and it is a disastrous move. ESPN is a dead company walking. Bloomberg reported on Iger, mentioned my theory on presidential run. Well, I'm glad they did because Bob Iger was definitely cucked. He was upset over my decision to write about him potentially running for president. This is a disaster for ESPN. What I want you to keep an eye on, if you are intrigued by the way sports business moves, what they need to do is they have to re-up their deal with Monday Night Football. Because if they lose Monday Night Football, they have no connection whatsoever to the NFL. And then all they've got is the disastrous NBA contract that they signed. And so everything out there is a potential disaster if they are not careful, right? There's zero doubt. And so as a result, if they don't drastically overpay, this is a crazy stat. You know what ESPN pays a year for the NFL? For Monday Night Football. For Monday Night Football and one playoff game. What do you know what they pay a year? $2 billion. All right? $2 billion. $2 billion a year. And the NFL is going to want them to bump that to probably $3 or $4 billion right as their business is collapsing. So ESPN is going to be caught in a vice here, but literally between a rock and a hard place. They lose billions of dollars a year off of the NFL, and they're going to have to pay more for it. It's going to be unbelievable to watch this bloodbath unfurl. And if they don't buy the NFL, then they're not going to be able to keep it. They lose $1 billion or more off of the NFL content. Don't get the right to even have like NFL Live or any of those shows if they don't also have Monday Night Football. I expect for Fox, NBC, and CBS to drive up the cost, maybe even Amazon, Facebook as well, and try to get ESPN basically bankrupted to go buy this. It's game theory. They want them to have to spend as much money as possible on it. They have no way to make money off of this. Just keep track of it. I'm telling you right now, Wall Street still hasn't caught up, but the stock is continuing to go down. The only way that Disney makes sense in the long range is if the movie and theme park business is going to work because ESPN is dead. And they're starting right now to try to do their own over-the-top ESPN network. The problem with that is if they go over the top, they lose their subscription base because they don't get that automatic dollars rolled into the cable contracts. And the ultimate fallacy of ESPN's business model is the vast majority of people paying for ESPN never watch it. And suddenly, across the country, tons of people, your Aunt Gladys, who I like to use in a mythical sense, pays $84 a year for ESPN and doesn't even watch it once. So they're making billions of dollars right now off of people who never watch it. It's a disaster. They don't make that much from college football either. That's a good question. People are cutting the cord. Kids aren't subscribing to ESPN. The business model was great for over 30 years. Now it is falling apart. It's a disaster. ESPN signed long-term contracts that were designed to be a moat surrounding their castle. Instead, it's now going to flood that castle. And that's why, I've been saying this for a while, that's why ESPN has gone left wing. That's why they have embraced the MS ESPN moniker. Not because they think it's a smart move, but because they're desperate and their viewers are all leaving, and they're trying to find something to latch onto that will make them relevant. ESPN is a middleman, and almost everybody in middleman get crushed. Okay, I also want to tell you about my friends at Alumni Hall. Let me tell you right now, Alumni Hall has everything the ultimate fan needs. Favorite brands, Nike, Nike Golf, Adidas, Under Armour, Cutter & Buck, Yeti. They have a huge hat selection. The best stuff for the entire family. Home and tailgate, 26 locations, 17 teams. AlumniHall.com, 27th store opening on Friday. Go check them out, AlumniHall.com. They can get you hooked up with everything that they need to make sure that you are hooked up in time for the college football season. Again, they have 26 stores, and they're opening a 27th, 17 different teams, awesome gear. Go to AlumniHall.com and get hooked up for college football season, and you will be well on your way to getting fantastic gear as the season begins. And what's the better time to buy than right now, AlumniHall.com, when you're so optimistic that your team is underrated and everything is going to end up going in your direction. Alumni Hall is fantastic. All right, questions. We will now do rapid fire bitches. I'm Clay Travis. We do this show every day, 3 Eastern. I'll be on 6 to 9 a.m. Eastern on Fox Sports Radio nationwide. Tennessee wins the East this year. Good luck with that, buddy. I don't think that's going to happen. Outkick Premium, I believe we're going to launch on Monday. It's going to be $100, and it's going to have a social network component inside, all behind the premium wall. It should be great. It's going to be a really cool setup. North Korea, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen with North Korea. I hope that we're going to get I said yesterday on the show, we need to wipe out Kim Jong-un. We need to wipe out everybody in the North Korean leadership and install a new leadership, unite the Koreas, and we're going to be well on our way to ending up in a freer Asia, which makes the world safer. No, I am not a snowflake. A lot of people at Barstool are snowflakes. I know what the right coast of the country is like, and I went to school on the East Coast, and those guys are typical right coast guys. East Coast sucks. That's why I don't live there. I could live there, could have gone to work at Barstool 4 years ago, make a lot more money than anybody at Barstool doing this, and I have control of my own future. So you guys who are cucks running around like, oh, Dave Portnoy's awesome. Dave Portnoy's awesome. I'm sorry that your life is miserable, and I'm sorry that you're not very intelligent, but it's going to suck. It's the truth. East Coast is the worst coast in America. Best places to live. South is number 1. West Coast is number 2. Midwest is number 3. East Coast is the worst place to live in the country. I'm sorry if you live on the East Coast. I've lived everywhere, and it's the worst place to live. Oh, that Brentwood Academy. Those are the regional rankings. Unbiased, 100% accurate regional rankings. South 1. West Coast 2, Midwest 3, East Coast 4. My personal opinion, which is the only one that matters. Where did I live on the East Coast? I've been all over the East Coast, but I went to college in D.C. I do like the East Coast. I like D.C. Here's an interesting question. One of my buddies asked me this years ago. Imagine that the country had been settled west to east as opposed to east to west. How many people would live on the East Coast? Nobody, right? Nobody would live on the East Coast. It would be the least populous part of the country. Again, if we had started in California and moved all the way across the country, who would live in the East Coast? Shitty weather? Not, like, people kind of suck? High taxes? Like, cold? Who would live in the Northeast if we started from the West Coast and went across the country? No doubt. How bad will Ole Miss be penalized? It's going to be ugly. I think Ole Miss is in trouble. I do think they should have thrown Hugh Freeze onto the dumpster fire earlier, and it would have made a lot more sense for them. If I were Ole Miss, I would do the following. I would settle this case for $500,000 and donate to charity and say to Houston Nutt, we're sorry. This was an ugly situation. We made a lot of miscalculations, which is why that would be number one. Number two would be I would go to the NCAA, hat in hand, say we decapitated Hugh Freeze. We're going to already take a bowl ban. Do whatever you want to us this year. Just give us a clean bill of health in the years ahead. Put all this behind you. Start back over. Give your guy as interim coach a chance to do decent. And then worry about whether or not Shea Patterson is going to stay with you. Because if you get him for one more year, you're going to be okay the next 2 years. And then go out and try to hire somebody. The one benefit Ole Miss has is that they have a ton of money. They can pay $4 or $5 million to somebody. And if they do that, it's going to be a great setup. So there are a lot of coaches, if the NCAA issues were eliminated, that would say, I'll take that Ole Miss job for $4 or $5 million a year. I don't think there's any doubt that a lot of people would take it. All right. I love all of you. I am Clay Travis. It's been Outkick the Show. We will be live tomorrow, 6 to 10 on 250 AM FM stations nationwide, as well as Sirius XM Channel 83. And then I'm hopping a flight to Vegas. I will be in Vegas on Friday and Saturday night. Back on Monday with the show. May go live from Vegas at some point. Appreciate all of you. Go to OddsShark for all of your gambling and informational related needs. Check out alumnihall.com for all of your gear. And go to magicalrealty.com if you're trying to sell your timeshare. I am Clay Travis, and I am a badass when it comes to pin flipping. This is what happens when you go to school, by the way. Well, I just dropped that one. But this is what happens when you go to school from the age of 5 to the age of 25, and you're the smartest guy in the class for most of it. You're sitting there with a lot of time to fill, and so you become an expert at pin flipping. Can't do it. Most people can't. Just sit around and try to do this yourself. This takes years of practice. The no-look pin flip. I'm the Magic Johnson of pins. Ain't no doubt about it. DBAP, don't be a pussy. Go buy our gear, OutkickGear.com. Love all of you. This has been Outkick the Show. I'll see you tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. on Fox Sports Radio. See y'all.